Ho, ho, ho. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a Christmas-themed Duke of Gaming podcast. How's everybody doing this week? I hope everybody had a wonderful week. Joining me is my fellow Dukes of Gaming. And first and foremost, we want to give a special shout out to the Duke of Nostalgia, Taylor, for putting all this new graphics, the new intro, everything together. Just want to give a, snap. Couple snaps.
Thank you.
Snap.
Yep. So thank you. This is the Duke of Nostalgia, Taylor. How you doing this week, man?
Hey, I'm doing all right. Family's sick. I'm not. Who knows what Christmas is going to be like this year? It's another one of those years.
Same thing with me.
Yeah.
We have also the Duke of Design. How are you doing, Ben?
Excellent. I'm sad that I forgot my Santa hat.
That was
a Christmas-themed episode.
You weren't in spirit. It's all good.
I got my green sweater, so it's
there. We go.
That makes up for it.
Of course, we have the Duke of Education. Hope his students are getting their Christmas break soon. How are you doing, Alfredo?
Oh, they certainly are. I'm doing pretty good. Just saw Spider-Man. Everyone should see it if they are a fan.
Second that. But this is a gaming podcast.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And for this particular one, it's a Christmas themed gaming podcast. So we're going to kind of go over some of our Christmas memories, video game specific Christmas memories, go over some of our favorite Christmas settings and games we associate with Christmas. But before we do any of that, what have we been playing this week? I guess I can start because really quick, I've been playing Halo, been getting through Halo. I am I'd say like 80% from fully completing the game as far as getting the 100, I think it's 1,000 gamer score. I don't know. I'm still new to Xbox. But yeah, I have completed the story, completed most of the most important side missions in the game, unlocked pretty much everything you can unlock as far as weapons, vehicles. And yeah, you'll hear my thoughts when we do our game of the year, but man, if this isn't a great game, this is such a well-made game. And truth be told, I think Taylor, you would like it a lot. For one reason, I think it feels almost as if they they took some inspiration from Far Cry.
Okay.
There's a lot of Far Cry in this, which when I started it, I wasn't for sure how I was going to feel about that. But there's a lot of Far Cry and a lot of Breath of the Wild as well. As far as traversing, as far as using your grapple hook to get up mountains, kind of similar to how you're climbing mountains in Breath of the Wild. It's that same logic of, I think I can get up there and I'm going to try everything in my tool belt to get up there. There's a lot of that mixed with that Far Cry, capturing bases and everything. So if you are even remotely, you love role-playing games, open world games. If you like open world games, even a little bit, I'd recommend you check it out.
I do. Yeah, absolutely. I haven't played a Halo in a while. So
I hadn't played a Halo game at all as far as just by myself, besides co-op with friends. I had not played one since 2004, maybe.
Oh,
and
wow.
So, yeah, and so I came. Yeah, and so I came fresh, I played the original Halo games using the Master Chief Collection when I got my Xbox. But, even then, I don't feel like I needed to play those to play this.
That's good to know.
It feels like, obviously there's story stuff, but Halo's not Shakespeare. It's not, I don't think if you don't understand the story, it's not the end of the world. Halo lives and dies off its gameplay. And just based on the ones I played, this is 343's best Halo game. It's a crowning achievement for them. They've set themselves up to make sequels to this game. I don't know if it's going to be Halo Infinite 2 or anything like that, but I am very curious as to the direction of this franchise going forward. Yeah, so that's pretty much all I've been playing. I also beat Guardians of the Galaxy, but I talked about that already. So yeah, that's what I've been playing this week.
Nice. Oh, I did want to ask a question. How are you doing in Shin Megami Tensei 5? I just got it.
Oh, okay. So I am, I believe, maybe 40% done. And so I knew I was like, I can't play this.
50 hours?
Like 30.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can't
Close.
play. I couldn't play that and Halo at the same time.
Mhm.
I need to get through Halo. Once I get through Halo, I'll feel a lot better playing Shin Megami Tensei because that's a time sinker of a game.
Okay.
So I'm going back to it. I hope to complete that before 2022 starts, but with RPGs, you never know.
Exactly.
But yeah, I love that game.
Big commitment.
Yeah,
right there.
I love that game. I'm glad you got it, so we can definitely maybe have a talk about it once you
Oh,
get
for
farther
sure.
in.
Yeah.
How do you like it so far?
I like it a lot. I died, and I was like, "Oh, this is hard," and I like it.
That didn't happen in Pokemon.
Exactly. I was unprepared.
Right. Ooh, since you have the floor, what else have you been playing?
Besides that, because I'm only about like an hour. I lost like 30 minutes of progress because I died, obviously. So I'm like 30
That's all.
minutes in.
You
It was
learn
right at the
very
beginning,
quickly.
so.
You learn very quickly to save at
Yeah,
every
yeah.
point.
I
Like it
definitely
takes
did
one, I feel like everybody plays that game and there's one time where they didn't save and you're like, well,
Yep,
I
that
know
was
now.
me. But aside from that, what I'm actually trying to do is play a lot of my older PS4 games, replaying a lot of games because I want to get ready for their sequels. So the one that I'm playing currently is Horizon Zero Dawn. And this was one of my favorite games when it first came out. I loved it way more than Breath of the Wild. Surprise, surprise, if you know my hot takes about Breath of the Wild. But yeah, I thought it was just so much better than Breath of the Wild. I loved the open world. I loved, obviously, the robot dinosaurs, the action. I loved everything about it. So revisiting this world and seeing is this game actually as good as I thought it was is a very interesting experience. So the cool thing is that I get to play it on my PS5 with all of the enhancements that they have now come out with, which is basically updated visuals for PS5 and the 60 FPS patch. So, you get all the benefits there. But as far as playing the game, I can definitely tell you I'm pretty far in, about 11 hours in. And I could definitely say that the story is definitely as good as I remember. I really, really love how they basically take their story and split it up into two basically intertwining stories where you're basically trying to figure out, okay, how did this world come to be, as like a side story, but it's still like integrated into the main missions. And then the main story of, okay, there's a robot uprising happening and you got to stop it. So I don't think I've ever come across a story that I can remember, at least, interwoven those two completely different storylines so effortlessly. So I'm really enjoying that and all the characters that come with that. But I'm definitely noticing a lot of gameplay intricacies, let's say, or questionable gameplay mechanics that have definitely creeped their way into it, especially now experiencing some of the best open world games that we have now, things that have come out, such as Ghost of Tsushima and just basically any other open world game. And the very, very first thing that I noticed was, one, the combat is just bad, which I already knew. I remember the hand-to-hand combat being really bad.
I was about to ask. Okay, so you
Yeah,
mean
not
the
the
melee
buggy.
combat?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
it's
melee
terrible.
combat
Yeah.
specifically. I remember it being bad, so I wasn't surprised about that. But there are some other questionable things like, the climbing in this game is not good at all. If you guys go back and play, you'll notice that things that you should definitely be able to grab onto, you just can't. So like there will be a ledge that, Ayla's next to and you jump to it and she'll just slide right off. Like it
Oh.
should definitely be grabbable and climbable, but it's just not, because I guess they just in this vast, vast open world, you can't climb up cliffs as normal. You can just do the select cliffs that they want you to climb up, which is a very, very odd experience, especially with all the other open world games that we have. And then just in general, the open world feels kind of empty, especially when you consider Ghost of Tsushima, where like the world is so big, but they do a really good job at making you feel like, oh, there's a lot of different things to do. With this, it's more with Horizon Zero Dawn is more of, okay, the world is big, but I would rather fast travel everywhere than experience, oh, this side path that will take me down this or this side story or anything like that. So I'm really loving it still because it definitely feels like a epic odyssey, which I think is there aren't too many games like that. It feels like I'm playing The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, which is all I can ask for really. So I'm still really enjoying it, but definitely noticing, the improvements that they can and hopefully will make in their sequel that will only be out in like 2 months. So I'm excited
I
for it.
mean, the climbing has changed. That was one thing they highlighted in that state of play, I believe it was.
Yeah.
They highlighted that you can climb other surfaces than
Yeah, I just didn't realize
yeah.
how bad it was in the
I
first
noticed
game.
I noticed it very when I first played it because I was playing Breath of the Wild at the same time.
Mhm.
And so I was like, well, Breath of the Wild, it's like a completely opposite experience where
Right.
it's like anything's climbable as
Mhm.
long as you have the stamina. This game, it's like, oh, if you don't see that yellow little thing,
Exactly.
I don't know exactly
the
what
yellow
they call it.
outline. If it's not yellowed color, that means you can't grab onto it, basically.
It's the most video gamey thing about
Mhm.
that game. But yeah, I played maybe like 4 hours of it once the patch dropped for 60 frames.
Mhm.
So yeah, I agree with you for the most part. It still holds up.
Yeah, for sure.
But I
I'm still
think
enjoying
that
it.
yeah, I think the only thing that I can say as far as for the world, they did a really good job with the world building, except when it comes to the open world.
Yeah.
And I
can
compare it
definitely second that.
directly to Witcher 3, where Witcher 3, they build that world up very well. But
Mhm.
also you can see it in the actual world, how in-depth the world is, where you're going to just a random shack and
Mhm.
you find like a page of a book that describes something that happened in Varen, or I forgot the names of the towns, but it's like everything is kind of interconnected and the world is helping tell the story.
Right,
Where
exactly.
Horizon, it's just the narrative.
Yeah, it's just
But
the
the na-
narrative, but they
Mhm.
do a really, really great job at all of their
Yeah.
characters. So if they could just up the ante in the second one and, do the Witcher Wild Hunt thing where, you have all of these different side characters and they intertwine into the main story, then I think they'll be golden.
Yeah, I think Horizon benefited from the fact that a lot of the games that we're comparing it to hadn't come out yet.
Mhm.
We're comparing to Breath of the Wild. I compare it to something like Halo, where Halo is, it's open world as well, and you can freely travel anywhere. I think that's a post Breath of the Wild thing,
Right.
where
Yeah.
you're like vertically traveling and
Yeah.
everything. Like, I don't think that was really, Skyrim it's kind of Skyrim, but even Skyrim's like not like climbing wise. I don't remember much climbing in Skyrim.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that it's unfair to compare it, but at the same time, it's a reality that the game has not aged as well as other games. So it is
Agreed.
what it is. It's a great game still.
Mhm.
I don't think any games have aged well. Secretly,
Tetris.
none. If you play a game,
Tetris is good.
because your brain fills in those gaps. You're like, oh, that game was so cool, and you go back every single time you go back to a game, you're a little bit disappointed.
Disappointed. Yeah. Last of Us did that to me.
That's true. That's true, except for Spider-Man. Spider-Man, I
Alright,
know. I go back to that game. I'm like, nope, none of change. Not a thing.
I'm
It's
surprised
also
this is coming from the Duke of Nostalgia. You should
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Should
It's
be
like
repping those old games.
anti-nostalgia.
No,
Would
he's a
know
master of
best.
nostalgia. That's why he knows.
Yeah, exactly.
See, if you go so far back, you can't be disappointed by those games because you're like, oh yeah, Secret of Mana, that's not going to be the smoothest gameplay. It's not going to be streamlined. But you know that going in. You go in to play Zero Horizon Dawn, you're like, oh, that game came out like what, 2 years ago? It's going to be
Should
great.
be good.
And then it's there's little things that you notice.
I will argue with you though that Game Boy Advance and SNES games are timeless for the most part.
Sure.
A lot most like, if I think of like the really like classic old SNES Game Boy games, I would say they hold up still pretty well.
Yeah.
But besides that, yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, you're filling in the blanks for a lot of those early 3D graphics.
Yeah. PlayStation, I'm like PlayStation 1, 2, 3, even like
All of them.
and the reason I'm thinking about this, of course, is because of GTA, the remastered definitive edition.
Have you been playing more of it?
I've been playing a little bit of
Go
it.
ahead, go ahead and talk about it. Speak.
I don't really have much to say since I haven't played a lot of it this week, but Vice City's good.
I haven't played that in so long.
Vice City's they they did a good job doing Vice City. I think a lot of people jumped in and just went, "Oh, look at these ugly people. They all look ugly." And I'm like, "There's video game characters always look ugly." So
Well,
get
they
over
really
it.
messed up San Andreas. That's when
That's
the
the
one
one that
I played.
people they saw San Andreas and they
I
said,
could have
"Now
messed
we're out."
it all up.
Man,
But I haven't played it, so
I played maybe 3 hours of it, and I'm like, they really did destroy CJ's brother.
Yeah,
Like he
completely
looks like Jabba the
eviscerated.
Hutt. Like it's crazy. He looks horrible. I'm like,
You know,
why did y'all do this?
with the clarity of the load times between like graphics, you see side characters so much. I don't remember seeing, from what I can tell, in San Andreas there were like 3 models. Those are the only 3 models they have. There's a guy eating pizza, there's a prostitute, and then there's some guy walking around like doop-a-doop-a-doo. And it's the same 3 over and over and over again. That game, it's not even their fault for making it like that, because it's just antiquated. It's just not good.
Yeah, those games don't hold up. That's a very
That's
fair
for sure.
That's a very fair opinion. What
but
else?
I'll still buy it and play it.
Yeah, what else have you been playing this week, Taylor?
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Let us move to Ben. What have you been playing this week, sir?
I got a random itch. Maybe because I would just watch Squid Game.
Great show.
I got an itch to go back to Danganronpa, but I had already platinumed Danganronpa 1 and 2, so the only game in the main series that I hadn't platinumed was V3. And I had made a promise to myself back in 2017 when I first played the game. Great game. Really loved it. But I made a promise to myself that I was not going to go for the platinum because of these stupid mini games that are so frustrating and difficult. And you have to like S rank them, like just do them flawlessly, basically, in order to progress.
That stupid taxi game. God.
Yeah, the taxi
Ugh.
game. Yeah, there's the taxi game. There's the game where you have to like crush the blocks in order to reveal all the fish, and
Don't know
they're
why
not-
they added that.
they're not fun. They're not really very fun at all. And it's especially not fun to have to get like perfect scores on them. But I just decided to bang it out, so I did in like 2 days, and I knocked those out.
You play the whole game in 2 days?
No.
Oh.
No,
You got through the mini games.
I was
yeah,
like, what?
I jumped in from my previous save, which already completed the main game. So I just was cranking on those mini games for 2 days.
Yeah, because the game is like 30 hours,
Yeah,
40?
it's long.
Yeah.
It's
Somewhere around there.
like 30 to
They're
40
each
hours.
pretty sizable.
Yeah, they're each like 40 hours long.
Yeah.
V3, I think, is the longest one by far, though. So yeah, the other annoying mini game in Danganronpa V3 is this whole kind of dungeon crawler meets board game ish thing. That is, we're talking about the main game being 40 hours. I'm in for probably 40 to 50 hours of this mini game in addition to the main game.
Just for the platinum.
Just for the platinum.
Whew.
So I love the Danganronpa games. I think they're fantastic. I think they're so unique and interesting. I forgot how pervy they were, though. they're pretty like fan servicey. And I when I booted it back up, that was one of those things where it's like it stuck out to me like a sore thumb. I'm like, wow, I don't remember this. But aside from that, I really enjoyed them. And except for these fucking mini games, and like they are. I don't know why. Like, why did they decide to make something so arduous and something that consumes so much of your time on top of this game that has absolutely nothing to do with this extra stuff? It's like total non sequitur.
I always figured it was to give you more content, because if I remember correctly, V3 was the first next gen version, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah.
It was the first one that they had on consoles.
So I always assumed that was why. They just like we have to put as much as possible. We need to put as much as possible to maximize the time. It's a new console, I never liked it, but I got it. I was never upset about it.
The game is so long already.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
why do you
I
need
agree
it?
with you. It's my least favorite, especially after playing 1. I never played 1 before. I played 2, and 2's my favorite. But
my favorite game.
1, I'm like, yeah, 1 is just as good as 2 to me. 3 is the one where I'm like, there's just too much. It's as far as for the story, it's still that same quality. But yeah, there's too much stuffing. There's too much yams. There's not enough turkey.
Yeah.
There's not enough chicken. There's
Yeah.
not enough protein, Or
Yeah.
there is enough, but there's just too much of the side stuff as well.
There's too much of everything, I think. There's too much of
Right,
everything.
yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely feel that because 1 and 2 had these types of mini games. They were like very pared down versions of what's in V3.
Mhm.
They expanded V3's mini game to be the like a full standalone game. That's what Danganronpa S is.
Yeah, I saw that. It's
basically,
like $30. It's like $30 standalone too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, this mini game that I'm playing in V3 is pretty sizable. It's like I said, I mean, it's going to take me longer probably to satisfy the requirements of the trophies I have left in this mini game than it took me to get through the whole main story, which is kind of crazy. I mean, like the ratio there, something's wrong. The mini games in 1 and 2 took me probably half the time of the main story, which is still a long time for mini game extra stuff, but it's just a lot. But I'm already in it, so I'm committed, and that's what I'm doing.